What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. And with this video, we are jumping into Devil's Reign Winter Soldier one-shot tie-in. This story is going to be continuing on with Captain America #0 later on in the coming months. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with everything that is going on with Devil's Reign, if you haven't been keeping up with Daredevil, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is going to get you completely caught up on everything that has been going on with this series. But Wilson Fisk having a dossier on every single person, that is, except for Daredevil. With Daredevil's information going missing and him feeling like he is just missing a part of his memory, he is beginning to obsess with the identity of Daredevil and what Daredevil did to him to make him forget his identity. But while all of this chaos is ensuing in New York City, our Winter Soldier is going to take this as an opportunity to maybe find out a little bit about his past. Now, be sure to buy the comics, support the industry, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with Wilson Fisk, currently sitting up in his bed. He is hiding out in his cabin, the cabin that has all the information on every single person that he has been able to collect information on. And that list of individuals is much bigger than you could ever imagine. But he has been so bothered with everything that Daredevil has been doing that he is even fighting with him in his dreams. As Wilson Fisk starts to sit up, we see that he is still sleeping, but he begins to sleepwalk. Meanwhile, on the outside of the facility, that is where we have Bucky Barnes. We have the Winter Soldier. Now, Bucky, he hasn't slept in days. And for him, this isn't anything that's necessarily outside of the unusual. When he was in Sri Lanka, he was able to stay awake for an entire week. But it has been 3 weeks since he has gotten anywhere close to rest. Even though he has no one to fight, even though he has no mission. And by the world's definition, he could very easily go back to being Bucky Barnes and no one would think twice about it. And though Bucky hasn't been able to get any kind of rest, it doesn't mean that he hasn't had nightmares. And those nightmares are appearing to him while he is wide awake. He sees the blood in pools in the rain and tears down the faces of the faces that are never changing. Because what he sees is his consequences. The consequences for every life that he has ever took. For every action that was ill-fated. The only issue is he cannot see these faces. They appear as blurs to him. Anytime they begin to gain focus, he loses it. And so he finds himself falling into this abyss, time and time again, not knowing his past, not knowing the things that he has done. And though he is able to pull it together, he promises himself, tonight will bring him some peace. And that is because, according to his connection in the intelligence agency, Fisk has files. Files on heroes, on their friends, secret identities, secret missions, secret histories. And it is thought that his file is in fact inside this mansion. Every official record of his life has been annihilated from every archive. Virtually anyone ever involved has died, or they have been killed to protect the past. Those consequences, the ones in his dreams, those are the ones that he sees in the dark even now. Having no idea who he was, having no idea of the things that he did, he has to find out the past to figure out what he is going to do next. With this being the last chance of him ever uncovering the truth. And he knows that it is likely his past is stained in even more blood than he thought. But he needs to know. For him to be able to move forward, he wants to know his past. Because the truth is, he didn't truly break his programming. He didn't give him a second chance in life. That was Steve Rogers. And a flash of the cosmic cube, everything was forgiven. But forgiving himself requires something much more. He needs to understand who he was. He needs to know what he was. And that includes every bad deed that he ever did, every life that he ever took. He finally needs to look his past eye to eye. And so with him making his way inside the mansion, he goes sneaking around. But as he looks around, it looks like someone has already made their way inside. And that is because all of Fisk's bodyguards, they are lying on the ground and they are all dead. But he keeps pressing forward, not really knowing what to expect, believing maybe someone else is here for the same exact reason. He breaks his way into the vault. Getting inside the vault, there are no alarms in the house. And so this is relatively easy. He is able to break in, he grabs a handful of files, including his own file. But this is when he hears it, the breathing from directly behind him. As Bucky begins to turn around, he sees nothing but the shadow of the mountain. That mountain being Kingpin. And Wilson Fisk's fists, they are completely bloodied. And Bucky tries to explain himself. Tries letting him know, you know who I am. And though they may be on opposite sides of the line, that he is more than willing to pay for this information, letting him know that he sold his house in Indiana. The house, the property, all of it converted into cash that he can put into his hands right now. That they don't have to fight. They don't have to bring this to an escalation that will have either of them walking away bloody and broken. He just wants the opportunity to actually sleep. But Bucky realizes that Fisk, he's not responding. He is just standing there, and his eyes are closed. He is sleepwalking, probably having no idea that Bucky is even here. All of that blood on his fists have to be from his bodyguards. With him believing that he is asleep and he is fighting Daredevil, he has killed every single one of his guards. And now, Bucky is the only one that stands in front of him. And Wilson Fisk starts to lay down some haymakers. Now, Bucky had heard that Wilson Fisk was strong, but Bucky had no clue that he was in fact this strong. And that's when panic begins to set in. His exhaustion is rising to match it, and then finally, his training kicks in. Focus, evasion, acquiring, and moving as quickly as he can. And though Fisk goes quiet only for a moment, that is until he comes bashing through a wall. And at this point, Bucky is just doing everything he can to stay out of the grasp of the mammoth known as Kingpin. With Wilson Fisk grabbing hold of him, Bucky is screaming and punching, trying to wake up Fisk, doing everything he can to bring him back to the land of the living. And with the Winter Soldier getting thrown across the building, he is in the kitchen, he finds a knife, and he goes to use it. But nothing is working against Fisk. And with all of this destruction, that is when the ceiling begins to collapse. And Bucky realizes this might be it. This might be the day that he actually dies. But with his training screaming at him to complete the mission, and he gets the opportunity, he breaks away. In this breakaway, he is able to make it to a window and jump outside of it. And in the same instance, the entire mansion comes crumbling down. With the police on the outside, not sure if Fisk is alive or not, we see him climb out of the rubble, and he lets Wesley know that he had the most wonderful dream. And that's where we pick up with the Winter Soldier. We see him burning the files of Darkhawk and Moon Knight, assuming that there are other files in here as well, and we can only assume that the Winter Soldier read those files. But now is the moment of truth. This is where he gets to read his file. And this is where he learns that Wilson Fisk, he didn't compile this, he stole it. Someone else, someone much more powerful than him, put this list together. They never identify themselves, but their notes, they begin when he was born. They have files on his father, on his mother, on his report cards, how he failed chemistry. He learns that he killed 374 people over the course of 78 operational years, with only 91 of those kills as part of the Winter Soldier program. They list him as active duty as if he is still working for them, and it gets him thinking maybe he hasn't. Maybe he is still working for them. Maybe this is all part of the game. And so for the first time in years, he finally feels clear. He has a purpose. He has a hunt. He has a mission that whoever wrote these files, they won't survive this year. And as for closure, he says that he will sleep when he is dead. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I think this is a great setup for what is going to transpire in Captain America issue 0. Winter Soldier now having an idea of who he is, of the things that he has done in the past. It appears that he believes they still think they have a thumb on him. And so because of that, whoever created and compiled all of these files, he has every intention of hunting them down and making them pay. And so while this doesn't really play into Devil's Reign too much, it plays into the idea that Fisk has a file on freaking everybody, to include individuals like Moon Knight and Dark Hawk. And so if Wilson Fisk has files on individuals like this, if he is able to steal, bribe, get whatever information he wants, what other information does he have? This is honestly what makes Wilson Fisk one of the most powerful individuals in Marvel, because he has the ability to use people's secrets against them in the worst and most sinister ways possible. And we see him using this information against Emma Frost in the X-Men line. So it's going to be very interesting to see this moving forward, and where this information about Bucky actually came from to begin with. Now, I am definitely going to assume Hydra. It's gotta be. It's gotta be something to do with Hydra. That's gonna be my guess. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you have not yet, please do me a favor. Hit that sub button. Hit that notification bell. Make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. And until the next breakdown.